Congressman Lester Wolf, the famous congressman. This is a famous UN correspondent. This is your uncle.
Yes.
There's a chairman of the Chinese Chamber of Commerce. He'll bring a lot of investors to Guyana. She's a financial of Wall Street, a future leader of China, Chamber of Commerce Korea, a young future leader,
Hello.
a future leader.
Yes.
It's a Chamber of Commerce Zero, Chamber of Commerce. And
How you doing?
okay. And Madam, could you see here? This is the Prime Minister.
She's leaving us.
Is she leaving?
Yes,
Just sit down, take a photo, then you can leave
Yes.
later because the future leader wants you to be do some culture education things. So
Yeah.
we
Well,
need you 5 minutes.
maybe
We need you 5 minutes. Yeah.
you could ask.
So everybody
You could
sit-
ask her a few questions before.
Oh,
She's put in the hot seat first, and then she could leave if the seats get hotter.
Well, Japanese handshake because sticking you in. Yeah, just remind you who.
and so on, because I think in Guyana our education is not quite rounded. We're more like this chalk and talk. You know, you rote learning. But for instance, over here, children are more exposed. They have physical education. They have art, music. You know, they're more in culture. They do swimming
Encourage taking
and all
initiative.
sorts of things. So apart from the academics, they are exposed to many other areas. So they are more rounded. But in Guyana, we don't have so much of the other side. We just academic chalk and talk. And why I say chalk and talk is because we have limited resources at schools, the teaching material and so forth. We don't have a lot of like teaching aids. Now we're getting into computering. We don't have a lot of textbooks. We don't have so many charts and projectors and all these various things that children will be exposed to here, and teachers have access to help to make their lesson easier.
Which we take for granted even in the poorest districts.
Yes, yes.
How has the social networking affected you in education?
Well, as I said, we're now getting into computering. There's still lots of poverty, so a lot of children, parents cannot afford computers for their kids. And so in some schools, or in a lot of schools, we do not even have a computer room, you know, where children could go in and have access to computers or are being taught how to use the computer. But now, as I said, we're trying to get into some of these technology.
You have the additional problem. Last week, she donated 2 laptops to twins. These kids, they're bright. They came from a riverine areas. You know, Guyana has a great number of rivers. It's called the land of many waters. And in the riverine areas, you have these kids. They have no distraction. That's the problem of television. So they are grown to learn better, and they read more. So she identified a particular family where they have the twins, but you have the other problem. You donate the computer to them and you're not able to reach the electricity. So you have to provide solar panels in the riverine area. That's where we have decided that by 2025, we are going to totally convert Guyana into a green economy. We have space problem. You have 83,000 square miles, 240,000 square kilometer country with a small population of less than 1 million. So you cannot possibly run conventional electricity lines.
Yeah, grid system doesn't work on the rivers.
I know. So that's why we are propelled into this concept of a green economy. We have to, or else you will not serve your people. they will be cut out of the routine. We have Guyana has, yes, a high literacy level. We are the only English-speaking country in South America. So that is the process where Secretary General Ban Ki-moon is saying, I'm in charge of this process as a good officer, and I have to determine where next you go. Venezuela does not want to go to the International Court of Justice. Venezuela wants to let this matter of a border controversy go to UNOSOL. It wants to take it to a Latin club so that they can decide it not in the terms of law, but in political, the arithmetic of power. Because in Latin America, the Latins generally invariably vote as Latins, and we are the only English-speaking country. So we rely on the United Nations, and we have confidence in the United Nations bringing this process to a close. I think that Maduro has run out of excuses. He was using this to externalize the politics that, look, I am not your problem. I'm not the one that is causing you not to have food on your table. Guyana is the problem. Guyana is stealing our oil. Well, you could do that for a while. I've been a politician now for 54 years. So there are little few things I could learn anymore in politics. And Maduro definitely cannot teach me anything new. That's an old beaten thing about diverting political attention.
I want to get to another area, and that is the fact of the so-called Chinese initiative in the Caribbean. And what effect is that having generally? This is a recent initiative. Do you think it is a move to counter our initiative in Africa?
Well, look, you had the Caribbean Basin Initiative led by the United States. Many countries have post-colonial period taken initiative to engage other countries. In Latin America, we have, before the Alliance for Progress, in the Eisenhower Kennedy administration. And everyone who saw Latin America as its backyard. United States had seen the Caribbean as its backyard. So it had an interventionist policy. Right? So it went into Little Grenada. Reagan felt it was a great victory after Thatcher went into the Falklands and so on. So big countries tend to assert themselves in certain regions in the past in aggressive ways, the power of might. And we have now gone past that. We have initiatives that are engaging us in trade, initiatives that are engaging us in soft concessions for development. China has rolled out, first in Africa, a red carpet. You can say it's green or yellow, but I think for Africa, it had sent a signal initially that they were prepared to deal with governments in terms of developing natural resources. And of course, one has to see China with a huge population, also interested in natural resources, in water, in energy, in land, in forests. You say whatever it is that is limited in China, you will find an interest of Chinese investors in other countries. The Caribbean Initiative is an initiative of a different sort. It tells the Caribbean countries that we can come in through the Exim Bank, we can give you a loan for 40 years at 1% interest. And if you want us, we'll help you with technology. So initially, we have in Guyana Chinese doctors. A few days ago, I was in Guyana. The president and I welcomed the 12th batch of Chinese doctors. So that's an initiative to help us with our health problems in Guyana. The Chinese came in Guyana and in many Caribbean countries, and they're doing hotels. In the Caribbean, the initiative, they're doing hotels because that's where they believe that their resources can be better utilized because they don't have the land space like Guyana. In the case of Guyana, Many of the companies came in and they're involved in forestry, in mining, and we have some problems in relation to whether some of these companies have really placed all their hands above the table. But it's a universal problem. We'll have to constantly be vigilant to see that we have the best term and that companies are not allowed to come and take advantage of weak political elites to make certain advantage. Our political establishment is very strong. It's a six-party coalition with very seasoned political leaders who have dealt with countries that want to partner with us. So it's an initiative that is welcome, but it's very, very, I will tell you, in Jamaica, in the Bahamas, where they have this massive project going up there, some $2 or $3 billion US hotel project in the Bahamas. We want the initiative. We have just got China to invest in our telecommunication. China bought 20% of our telecommunication, national telecommunication, for 30 million US. They paid up front 25 million. There's an issue right now about whether or not they should be given additional voting rights, and so 5 million is due. So we don't have a restriction on the extent to which you could have Chinese involvement. I've carried, when Frank Lu went first with a group of businessmen, they set up a local company in Guyana. I told them that then I was a minister then in the government, and I worked, of course, now this is under the number 5 president. I've been the political advisor, speechwriter for 4 of the previous presidents, and function in the cabinet as well. This is the 5th president I'm associated with now. So I've always talked about bringing Chinese, and they have a great market in China for soybeans, that we can make available the land. And we have the right soil, etc. And they can do soybeans in Guyana, they can process and dry it, and then they can export the finished product. What we're interested in is not to export the raw material. We want to be able to have an involvement where you could produce semi-finished or finished products. So that if you have investors coming into the country and they want to invest in cattle rearing, we would hope that they can establish in Guyana not refrigeration to take the raw beef out of the country. We'd like them to do pasteurized milk. We'd like them to do cheese. We'd like them to do milk powder, so that you have people in the chain of production getting jobs. My wife was saying just now about Guyana, the level of suicide is high because of a number of factors. One of the factors that have been identified is the high level of unemployment that has thrown people, young people in particular, into depression. They fall victim to depression if they cannot find jobs. They turn to drugs.
Sure.
And they turn to social abuse. So 40%, when we got into the government, 40% of our young people were unemployed. That was the situation last year. 30% of our population is below the poverty line. And that's the poverty line that's an acute poverty level. So that you go out into the country, you always find people who are in need of something. I took photographs a couple of years ago in some of the communities, and I see children barefooted. So we started a campaign of providing boots for children attending school. We, of course, I'll tell you the reason I'm saying this, because Chinese businessmen have been contributing generously to this effort. There are areas in the riverine areas where you can't go to school because the only means of transportation is a boat. So we have another B. So we're providing boots and we're providing boats. And then we're providing books. And we are now providing buses for the children on the coast. And we're providing also breakfast. So in all of this, we are locking in with companies that come in. And as I said, there's significant Chinese investment in Guyana. Not on the basis they almost control the cuisine industry, which is good because we were exporting our rice. Now we learn to eat our own rice because the Chinese are great at making this rice like magic. They turn it in all kinds of products. Rice soup, rice noodle, they do some of that locally. And then they have the fried rice with chicken or with pork, however you want it. So they're great in utilizing local products.